The immigrant problem is not the only problem New York City residents seem to be suffering from. Another problem that the city has is collapsing buildings. A couple of months ago, a Bronx building collapsed while the residents ran for their lives. It remains unknown what caused the building's corner to crumble. City officials and prosecutors in the Bronx stated they were looking into the collapse. Last December, Maria Vargas was in her daughter's room on the third story of their Bronx apartment building when cracks appeared in the walls. One wall was divided down the middle. Miss Vargas, 55, and her husband, the building superintendent, joined the crowd rushing towards the exit. Then, the entire corner of the building collapsed, sending shockwaves through the neighborhood and spilling the insides of several houses. I thought to myself, Miss Vargas recounted, "Oh my God, I'm going to die. I haven't slept," she explained. "Every time I close my eyes, all I see is the crumbling room." The partial collapse of the 46-unit building in Morris Heights resulted in no deaths or serious injuries. A day later, officials issued a few results stating that the incident was being investigated. This incident emphasized the lack of control of aging infrastructure, particularly following the catastrophic collapse of a Manhattan parking garage in the spring and the accident at a Florida condo building in 2021. Before the Bronx collapse, the residents complained of many problems, including faults with the facade that had yet to be taken care of according to city building records. Abi Aghayari, a civil engineering professor at Drexel University who investigates structural collapses, said he did not believe the city's oversight of buildings was sufficient. He explained that regulators pay close attention before and throughout construction, as well as when an owner asks for permits. Following that, he stated that it is almost always the owner's responsibility to identify and handle problems, and that New Yorkers should be concerned. "I was thinking about that yesterday," he said to me, "that I could be living in that building." By law, a building owner must hire licensed engineers and contractors to do periodic inspections. Retaining walls, for example, must be inspected every 5 years. Boilers must be examined annually. City inspectors may also respond to citizen concerns and conduct surprise inspections. When asked whether the city's laws should be changed, Mayor Eric Adams said he supported the idea of owners hiring outside professional engineers and architects to assess safety concerns. But he also stated that the city needed to ensure that the system worked effectively. "Every collapse is a bad collapse," that's what he stated. "Many of our structures are from an older stock. You get this occasionally." Officials from the Buildings and Housing Department stated they were unaware of any early warning signs that could have predicted the tragic event. The Bronx District Attorney's Office confirmed it was investigating the collapse. Mr. Konigsberg, who's been inspecting and repairing the city's building facades for over 30 years, said that the collapse was unexpected. In light of the 1998 local laws requiring frequent facade inspections, he stated, "This is a very rare type of failure." He declared the facade dangerous in 2020, indicating that a pavement shed was required to protect pedestrians during renovations. The pandemic delayed the work, but he stated that the collapse was certainly not foreseeable as a result of not doing the work sooner. Whether and when to conduct repairs would have been up to the building's owner, which city records showed to be a limited liability company, 1915 Reality. David Kleiner, who was named as the company's owner, could not be reached for comment. Outside the relief center set up for the building's inhabitants at Bronx Community College, Desiree Ramos Reiner, a spokeswoman for the American Red Cross, said the organization was attempting to place 146 members of 46 households throughout the city. That was not the only building that collapsed in the previous years. There have been multiple buildings collapsing around New York City, putting many people's lives at risk. On March 7 of last year, one construction worker died and 3 were injured while working on a demolition site in Soho. A wall at the demolition site on the second story of 126 Lafayette Street in Manhattan collapsed. One worker, who got trapped beneath the wall, died at a hospital the same day. 3 additional employees were seriously injured. According to officials, the March tragedy was the year's first documented building construction fatalities. The site's contractor had previously earned 7 violations from the city for safety issues which were discovered during an inspection. "It's an unfortunate accident," FDNY Chief of Department John Hodgins stated, "and we will be investigating to see how this happened." If we go back a couple of years, in 2021, a man died after a lift collapsed in a Bronx building. A construction worker was killed when a lift crashed on top of him at a building site in the Bronx. Another man who was in the lift at the time suffered significant injuries. The structure was immediately recognized by a History Channel billboard on its roof. The developers planned to convert the old site into a new branch of the Dream Charter Schools. In 2020, a man died when a brick wall fell on him at a construction site in Sunset Park. Another construction worker suffered significant injury. Both workers were buried beneath a fallen brick wall at 454 42nd Street in Brooklyn on December 28, 2020. The 10-foot-high wall crashed on the construction workers. One of them died at the scene, the other was taken to the hospital. Building documents show that the wall was built without legal authorization in 2004. There may have been some work going on, but we don't know what type of work it was, an FDNY representative stated at the time. That is still not the end of it. There are countless events as we recount them from back to back. Another incident involved a 3-story building in Carroll Gardens that collapsed back in July 2020. Nobody was inside the building when it collapsed, and eventually it became uninhabitable. The city's buildings department was aware of the building's concerns before the collapse, and the property owner had received violations and fines for cracks and bulges throughout the property. In a statement at the time, Body Elite Gym's owner described the rapid fall as an overwhelming shock. "We are deeply grateful that the gym was closed due to COVID and that no members were present." The dangerous incidents followed complaints to authorities and a subsequent inspection for years. Experts believe that people living in older buildings around the country can learn from the circumstances surrounding the unexpected collapse. While having a building professionally examined is the only way to be certain of its structural stability, there are some warning signs that individuals should be aware of. Let's hope the New York City officials decide to do something about the buildings that have weak infrastructure and are also putting people's lives in danger. Whether it is the construction workers or the residents living inside the apartment buildings, their lives should not be put at risk. The city officials should be more vigilant and conduct more surprise inspections to make sure that buildings are safe enough to be lived in. What do you think the New York City authorities should do to rectify this situation? Tell us in the comments below. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel before you leave. Click on that bell icon to receive the latest updates.